Welcome, joyful creators and Call the Midwife friends. Today is Funday Monday, part 13 of the Midwife Classic Baby Blanket. And today we are going to put a border on our blanket. How exciting. We are finishing up our blanket today. Oh, what fun, 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 fun. Okay, so to get started, we are going to continue using our H 5mm hook, and of course always moisturizing our hands to keep our best tool hydrated and moisturized. So before we get started on our border, let's just take a look at this delicious blanket that we have created. And we should have a total of 12 rows on our blanket with 9 blocks on each row. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And just coming right here on the 12th row, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 blocks. So if you're ready to get started with the border, grab your projects, grab your yarn, grab your hooks, and meet me over at your craft table, your craft space, wherever you're going to be putting your border on, and I will meet up with you there and we'll get started. Okay, to get started with our border, we are going to start this first round by putting double crochets in each stitch around. Now, I know you might be asking yourself, well, we kind of already have this really fancy blocked double crochet border kind of going around it. We want to leave them as part of the design around each of the blocks. So we want it to be a design that is in the body of the blanket and not the border. Okay, to get started, we're going to just start right where we created that last double crochet on the last row that we did in the body. We're going to chain 3, and this chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. We are then going to come to this next chain 1 space right here, and we're going to work a double crochet. Then we're going to go into this next double crochet right here, and we're going to work a double crochet. And then in the next chain 1 space, we're going to work a double crochet. And in the next double crochet, we're going to work a double crochet. And then we're going to continue working in every chain 1 space, or stitch, I should say. I am working in the stitches and every double crochet around the edge of our border. Now, you can, when it comes to the chain 1 spaces, you can work into the space here, but for this tutorial in my blanket, I'm going to work into the actual stitch because I like the straighter, crisper edge that it will give it, allowing this blocked edge right here to continue to stand out. If I put the stitch in the space, then it'll tend to occupy some of that space, the stitch up here. And I don't want that. I want to keep it a nice, crisp, straight edge there. So I will work in the stitches. And so we're going to continue working down the side, working in every double crochet and chain 1 space with a double crochet. And I'm just going to do a couple of those here so you can kind of get an idea of what that edge is looking like. And then we will go down to the corner and I will show you how to do the corners. And we'll just do a couple more here. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got. So this is our edging so far, okay? A nice simple double crochet edging, which is just setting us up as like a foundation to the border we're going to put on. So let's go down to the corner and let me show you what you need to do. Now this is my beginning corner from where I did my foundation chain. I still have this tail to weave in, but I'm going to do that as I create my border. So if you look at your little corner square here, so to speak, you have this double crochet on either side of the corner, okay? Now, in between that, you have a chain 4. You've got a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, you're going to put a double crochet into the top of this double crochet and a double crochet in each of these chain 4s. And then you'll put a double crochet in the next double crochet leading out of that corner. And as we come out of that corner, then we'll continue doing double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces, double crochets, and so forth, and we will treat all the corners the same way I just showed you. When you come back all the way around to the beginning, when you do your double crochet into this last double crochet right here, just stop and I will meet back up with you there. And just a quick little excerpt. When you are going around the top and bottom sides of your border, when you get to the sections that have spacers, if you'll remember, we chain 2 to create those spacers. And so on the top and bottom, you want to make sure you're putting a double crochet into both of the chain spaces. So when you come to the spacers, you'll have a double crochet going into a double crochet going into 2 chains that create the spacer, and then a double crochet into the next double crochet. So from one double crochet to the next, you'll have a total of 4 double crochets. So I hope that makes sense. I have already done mine, but just to show you. So for example, here is a spacer. So see how there's a double crochet in this double crochet? Well, there's 2 chain spaces that create the spacer before the next double crochet. You're going to put a double crochet in the first chain, a double crochet in the second chain, and then a double crochet into that next double crochet. And then you'll continue again, going double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, until you get to the next spacer, and then it would be the same. A double crochet into the double crochet, a double crochet into each of the chain 2 spaces, and then a double crochet into that next double crochet. Okay? All right, I will meet back with you when you get back to the beginning where we agreed to meet up at. Okay, so we have made it back to the last double crochet from where we began. So to finish up this round, we are going to do a double crochet right here into each of these next 2 chain spaces. So there's 1, and then 1 into this last chain space. And then that brings us back to the chain 3 that we made that created the double crochet for that one. So we're just going to come right into the top of that chain 3 and do a slip stitch, and that completes that round for us. All right, so now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to come right back into the base of that stitch, and we're going to make another double crochet. So we have 2 double crochets in that end space. And let me get my yarn. It is caught under my blanket. There we go. So that it looks like this. 2 double crochets into that one space. All right. And then we are simply going to work double crochets in each double crochet now around, And when we get to the corner, I'll show you what to do, but I'm just going to work a couple of these with you. And I'm literally just putting double crochets right into the double crochets we created on round 1. So it looks like this. You've got a nice little border started there. It's very definitive, keeping this pattern separate. See? You can still clearly see your block. All right. Now, when you get down to your corner, on each of your corners, you're going to find that one that is like the most, what you would consider the tip, okay? And in that stitch, you will always do 2 double crochets. Otherwise, you're going to put 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. But just when you get to your corners, let me go to the next corner. And again, you're going to find the one that is at the tip, and you're going to put 2 double crochets in it, okay? And do that all the way around. When you get back over to the beginning and you've put your last double crochet in, then you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, and I will meet back up with you there, and we'll begin round 3 together. So we have joined our 2, our end double crochet to our beginning crochet. So we're ready to start round 3. Now in this round, we are going to be making V-stitches, and I'm going to explain to you what a V-stitch is. But before we get started with that, we want to actually get out of the corner, and we actually want to start on the edge of our blanket. You can see from my finger, that's the edge, and you can see that where my thumb is over right now, that's the corner. So in order to do that, we've just slip stitch into here to join. We're going to come to this next double crochet, and we're going to slip stitch to move across it. And then we're going to slip stitch to get into this double crochet. So go into that one and slip stitch. Now we are directly above this double crochet that we want to be on right here. So once you're there, you are going to chain 3, and that chain 3 is going to count as your double crochet, okay, and a chain 1. And then you're going to go right back into that same stitch and do a double crochet. So therefore, this double crochet chain 1 is an actual V-stitch. We are now going to skip the next 2 stitches. So we're going to skip 1 and we're going to skip 2. And right here into this next one, we're going to work a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet right back into that same stitch. Now, it's entirely up to you. You might want to change the color of your yarn for this part of the border. You might have even wanted to do it back here. You might even do this part of the border a different color, and then this part yet another color. I am choosing for this blanket to stay all in the green because 1, I have enough yarn to do it, and 2, I just kind of want to keep with the solid color for this one. All right, so we're going to skip 2 stitches again. So we're going to skip 1 stitch, and we're going to skip 2 stitch, and right into this next one we're going to work another V-stitch, which again is a double crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet right back into that same stitch. And we're going to keep doing that all the way down, skipping 2 stitches and then working a V-stitch into the next. So in a sense, we're kind of working in multiples of 3 because we're skipping 2 stitches and then we're working a V-stitch into the 3rd stitch. And I'm just going to work. And again, we're skipping 2 stitches and we're working a V-stitch into the 3rd, and that V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And I'm just going to work a couple more here, and that will get us down a ways that you can actually see what it's looking like. And after I finish this one, we'll take a look at it. All right, so that's how those V-stitches are looking. Really, really pretty and elegant. Just a nice, subtle, elegant touch to this classic blanket. Okay, we're going to keep doing that all the way down this side. And when you get to your corner where you put your 2 double crochets in, right here, see 1 and 2, or 1 and 2. Each of them are beside each of my thumbs. Okay. All right. When you get here, you're actually going to put 2 V-stitches in the center of those 2 double crochets. So you'll literally just work 2 V-stitches in there. So in the end, you'll have 4 double crochets and 2 chain 1 spaces. And then you'll come back around and just do the same thing, skipping every 2 stitches and working a V-stitch, skipping every 2 stitches and working a V-stitch until you get to your next corner. Now, I do need to clarify that because everybody, can be unique, even if you're following this pattern to a T, but also because you're working in multiples of 3, sometimes when you're coming up on your corner, okay, let's say you skip your 2 and you've done your V-stitch in this one, but you only have 1 double crochet before coming into that corner. That's fine. Just skip that 1 instead of skipping 2, because you want to make sure you're doing your corner V-stitches of 2 in the center of these 2 double crochets. Okay? And then if you want to take the time, you can come out of the corner and count across the top of your blanket to see how many stitches you have, or you can just skip 1 instead of 2 and start again. But then again, when you get to this other corner, you may end up where you're skipping 2 to go into that corner, and then that's fine, or you may still only have 1. That is the blessing about crocheting. It is very, very forgiving. So what's important is not necessarily when you're going into the corner that you have 1 or 2 double crochets to skip. What's important is that you're doing those 2 V-stitches in that corner stitch between those 2 double crochets you made. So continue working around your blanket. And when you come back to the beginning here, you're going to have the last double crochet here, whether it's the one you skip. But when you get to this corner where you've got the 2, don't forget to do your 2 V-stitches in that corner. And then you are going to slip stitch to join at the top of this double crochet. When you have finished round 3, and in that corner stitch you've done your 2 V-stitches, your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet to create the 2 V-stitches. We now need to join the end of the 3rd round to the beginning. So we're just going to come right up to the top of that chain 3 and we're going to slip stitch to join. You're then going to slip stitch over into that chain 1 space from that first V-stitch that you made, so that we're in the center of the V-stitch. And then you're going to chain 3, and this is going to count as your first double crochet in your chain 1, and you're going to go right back into that space and you're going to work a double crochet. Now, I know in all the previous stitches I've always said that we are working right into the stitch, but for these V-stitches going forward, we will be working in the chain 1 space. So after you've made that V-stitch on top of that V-stitch, we are now going to just slide right over to the next V-stitch, and we're going to do a V-stitch right inside of it. And again, that's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And we're going to keep going all the way over to the chain 1 space of all of our V-stitches and do a V-stitch within that V-stitch. And so I'm going to work a couple of those with you so I can then show you what that's going to look like. Now, we're going to do a total of 3 rounds of these V-stitches. If you don't want all the V-stitches, then you can do just the 1 round and then meet back up with me after we've done the rounds of V-stitches to do the very last round. So I'm just going to work a couple more here just to show you what it's looking like. And then we will go down to the corner and I will show you what to do once you get down there. And so we are just literally working these V-stitches in each V-stitch that you already created in the previous round, which was round 3. Again, if you don't want to do round 4 and 5 of the V-stitches, then you can come back, or fast forward, excuse me, to round 6 to do the scallops. But I just like adding in these extra rows of V-stitches because, again, it just gives it such an elegant, look to the blanket. Okay, so after I work this V-stitch, then I will show you what it looks like so far. But it's going to be beautiful after we add the other round. So this is what we have. I mean, isn't that just beautiful? Okay, we'll pull that out some, and let's come down to the corner so I can show you what to do. So when you get to the corner here, we have this first V-stitch right here that we did, and then we have this second V-stitch that we did. So if you look, you have a chain 1 here. Then you have a little bit of a gap here that's not a chain 1. It's just the space that created itself between this double crochet and this double crochet. But we did not do a chain 1, remember? And then there's this chain 1 space. So this creates our corner. In this first chain 1 space, you're going to create a single V-stitch. And in this last chain 1 space, you will create a single V-stitch. But in this area, and I'm going to call it an area because I don't want to confuse you, because we did not chain 1. So it's just an area of space that automatically created itself between this double crochet and this double crochet. But in this area space, you are going to do 2 V-stitches. So you're going to create in this space what you did here. So a V-stitch in the chain 1, 2 V-stitches in this area space, and 1 V-stitch in this chain 1 space. And so you will do a V-stitch in this V-stitch going into this corner. So it'll be V-stitch, V-stitch, 2 V-stitches, V-stitch, and then coming out of the corner into the next V-stitch of V-stitch. Okay? And you're going to do this for 2 more rounds, round 4 and 5. Again, if you don't want to do the extra rounds of V-stitches, then just meet up with me for round 6 to finish off the blanket. And I will see you at the end of round 5. We are back. We have completed rounds 3, 4, and 5 of our V-stitches. And isn't this elegant? Isn't it everything that I said it would be? I mean, just look at that with the pattern of the blanket. And yet, we're not done. We're going to add one more round that's going to give it just another element of elegance. And so I'm excited to do this with you. I did not join because I wanted to do that together with you, the 5th round. And this 6th round is going to be made up of double crochets within the same stitch. Some people refer to that as a scallop. Some refer to it as a fan. For this tutorial, we will refer to them as scallops. So to get started, we have a V-stitch here that is 1 V-stitch over from the corner. You see we have our V-stitch, our 2 V-stitch in the tip of the corner, and then this V-stitch. This V-stitch that we did here was part of the corner from the previous round. So that's where that came from. Now we're going to join, and we're going to come to the top of this double crochet right here, and we're going to join with a slip stitch. Now we want to start our scallops in the center of our V-stitches. So in order to start in the center of this V-stitch right here, we need to slip stitch into the center of it so that our starting working yarn is in the actual center of that chain 1 space of that V-stitch. We want this first stitch to ground our scallop. So in order to do that, we're simply going to go and make a single crochet right in that stitch. Okay. There we go. And there's our first single crochet. We are not going to do any chaining, but we're going to come to the next V-stitch, and in that center chain 1 space, we're going to do 7 double crochets. So there's 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. And this is our first scallop. Okay. Then we're going to move right on over to the next V-stitch, and we're going to work a single crochet in that V-stitch, and that helps to ground this side of our scallop. Okay. We're going to go over to the next V-stitch, no chaining, and go right into the center there, and we're going to do 7 double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's what it looks like. Moving to the next V-stitch, we're going to do a single crochet. And there's 2 complete scallops. Ah, so pretty. In the next V-stitch, we're going to work 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Isn't that just beautiful? And then in the next V-stitch, we'll work a single crochet. I'll work one more with you. In the next stitch, we're going to work 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then in the next V-stitch, we'll work a single crochet. That is just absolutely beautiful. So you're going to continue doing that all the way around your blanket. Now, just follow that pattern of 7 double crochets and then a single crochet in each V-stitch. Now when you get around to your corners, you can just kind of, again, crocheting is a very forgiving art. So I don't want to use the word manipulation, but you can kind of create around a pattern, a repeat, by just altering the stitches. So in other words, when you come up to your corner here, the very middle of your 2 V-stitches, you really want to try and have a shell going around that corner. So if coming in, you get to your V-stitches, and let's say, so here's our corner, okay? Here's where we're going to want to work that shell, that scallop. Okay, so let's say you work a scallop here, and you would skip this one, or excuse me, you'd work your scallop here, and in this one you would work your single crochet. So this would then be your scallop. All you're going to simply do is just skip over and make this your scallop. And whatever you do here, you really want to mimic it here, so it just keeps a balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to work on the scallops, and when I get down towards that corner, I will come back and join you, and we'll work that first corner together so you can get a full picture view of what I'm trying to say. So I will meet you down at the bottom corner. Okay, so I've made it down to the corner, but I'm just going to show you. I mean, isn't that just delicious? Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's doing exactly what I thought it was going to do. So I'm glad that I chose to come back and work this with you and show you. So I've just finished in this V-stitch here, creating our little scallop here. And so the next V-stitch, I will work a single crochet. So in my next V-stitch, I need to work a scallop. However, this is my corner where I have the 2 V-stitches. So here they are right here. But here is where I put the scallop. So I'm not going to put the scallop here, I'm going to put it here. Now I'm going to show you what happens if I don't, but we're going to come back and we're going to actually put a single crochet here. Even though we just put a single crochet there, we're going to put one here as well into this V-stitch, because if we don't, look what happens when we come in here to start creating our scallop. And I'm just going to work up just a couple double crochets in here so you can see. I'm not going to actually complete it, but if I go to start that scallop, see how it kind of creates a hole here, and see how it's not doing that the rest of our border. It's just kind of perfectly closing in and even. So I don't want that. So I'm going to pull this back out. And again, even though I had put a single there, we're going to come right into the center of this V-stitch and put a single crochet so that it keeps it nice and clean there with no extra holes. Then we'll come into that corner that is between the two V-stitches and put our scallop. So this is 2 double crochets, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now let's take a look at this, and you'll see what I mean by how forgiving crochet is. So see here we have been doing our scallops and our single crochet, scallop, single crochet. So coming through here, you can see the scallop. Here's our single crochet. And if you've got a really good eye, you can tell that there's an extra single crochet here. But I would much rather have that extra single crochet and make it appear to be just kind of even more of a texture design for my corner than to have that hole or that space there. Now, for me personally, I want to keep everything symmetrical. So for this corner, and it may be different when I get to the next corner, but you'll treat it just like you did this corner so that this scallop is in that center space. But because I want it to match and mimic, I am going to go into that next V-stitch and work a single crochet. And because I want it to have that same appearance, I'm going to do a single crochet into that very next V-stitch. So that completes my corner right there. And it literally is symmetrical to each other. It looks just the same. Then coming out of that single crochet, I will then go into the next V-stitch and work my scallop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now let's take a look at it and see it just continues to look so natural. And then you'll just continue on. And when you get to this other corner, however it ends up, you work it. Now, obviously, if you've worked your last single crochet, and you've got enough stitches or V-stitches left to do a scallop and still skip one, or not really skip one, but do your single crochet, say it ends perfectly, then don't worry about adding extra single crochets. Just continue to follow the pattern. Scallop, single crochet, scallop right in the middle. So you're only going to add an extra single crochet if the next V-stitch before that center piece would be a scallop, because you don't want a scallop on top of a scallop. That won't look right. You need to have your single crochets on either side to help ground that scallop down. Okay, so continue working all the way around your blanket till you get back to the beginning. And let me come back. Ah, that is so, so beautiful. Look at that. Ah, isn't that just gorgeous? Ah. So when you get back to the beginning here, you'll have worked your corner, and then just finish it off however that stitch is. you know, you have your center here, here's your scallop, but I don't know what you're going to have to do coming in. I don't know if it's going to just follow the regular pattern of scallop, single crochet, scallop, or if you're going to have to do scallop, single, single, scallop. You'd never have more than 2 singles here, because if you do, that means you have enough to do a single, scallop, single, and then scallop in the center. So I hope that makes sense. So however you have to come out of here, finish that up, and then go ahead and join, fasten off, and we will come back and look at our final project. Oh, it is just so gorgeous. All right, I will see you at the end. Here we are. Here is our finished blanket. The body, the border. Oh my goodness. It is beautiful. Well, I will post a full picture of the blanket completed up on the screen at the end of the video. And I thank all of you for coming on this journey with me and creating the Midwife Classic Baby Blanket. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you are as pleased with the outcome of your blanket as I am with mine. And I am curious to see what all of your blankets look like. So don't forget to send me pictures. You can send me pictures of your progression, and you can send me pictures of your final product. And as many pictures as you send me, I will put in the collage under your name in a special video. Well, this has been Funday Monday, part 13 of the Midwife Classic Blanket. It is the final episode of the Midwife Classic Blanket. We added our border today of 6 rows and or rounds, however you want to call it. But yeah, thank you for joining me for the Midwife Classic Baby Blanket journey. And until our next project, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.